Look at these guys.
I thought we were going inside.
I'm like, you guys, this is football weather, and you guys showed up.
It's warmer in Granger. Yeah.
Tim Priester and Tim O'Malley from Irish Illustrated. Always a treat to have you guys on. Thanks so much for being here. Let's talk about this November weather. For kickers, not so great maybe tonight. And if you're a Notre Dame kicker, behind door number 3 is a guy named Eric Schmidt. So talk about the Notre Dame kicking game, and each of you can kind of go, but
what's going on?
What's going on? Who's going to kick for the Irish?
It's just pretty rare when you have 3 guys kicking in one game and everybody was as bad as they were. But Coach Freeman's going with Eric Schmidt, the guy that the scholarship kicker of the group. Of course, Noah Burnett is the transfer in. I would anticipate that Burnett is still a little bit banged up. I mean, otherwise they would go with the veteran. Eric Schmidt has a big leg. I mean, we were at practices in August, and you could hear his kicks as much as you could see the distance of them. But he's got to find the range. He's had 2 field goal attempts, and neither one have been very accurate.
I think the issue is last year Notre Dame encountered the same thing when Mitch Jeter was hurt. They were 3 for 11 on field goals last year in the regular season, but then everybody remembers January Jeter coming in and winning games for them, especially against Penn State. If Noah Burnett can get healthy, I don't know if he gets to Jeter's level, but at some point you want Burnett, who has had a season where he was 19-23. Now he's a few years removed from that. I think he has to be the kicker of the future, but if Eric Schmidt can come in, make all his extra points, hit a field goal today, go to Pittsburgh, hit a field goal, maybe you don't switch from Schmidt. Maybe he can seize the job in this time.
You've played with somebody who it was right up here, and were they able to fix it?
Well, I was a holder too, so you're working with those guys day in and day out, and a lot of it can be mental. It's the physical thing for these guys. You got one job, you're focusing on that one job, and you would think you'd be able to execute that. But sometimes you get in your head a little bit, and once you bounce back, and I think you made a great point, once you start to get hot and build some consistency, that's really what you're looking for. And hopefully, again, my prop bet still today is that they don't kick any field goals. I think they may be going for it on some 4th downs if they have to. But once you get that confidence back, and especially the team, they'll rally behind you.
Let's turn to the defense. Notre Dame with 2 big turnovers a week ago.
Trips to the top of the formation for James. He's pressured, steps up, throws on the run, intercepted! Adon Schuler at the 5-yard line, goes out of bounds, and the Irish take it away!
And that was Adon Schuler's big interception a week ago, but it all doesn't happen, guys, without the guys up front. Gabe Rubio is not here, is not suiting up this week because of injury. How does that affect what Navy does with their triple option?
Also, not with a concussion, Donovan Heinisch, which we found out during the week. That's a big blow, I mean, those 2 guys, Rubio has proven that he's very good against triple option football, and I think Heinisch has too. Heinisch is just kind of a little bit of a do-everything defensive lineman, so that hurts a little bit. I think really the bigger loss on the interior is Billy Schrouth and Ashton Craig on the other side of the ball, because of the 2 guys that they're going against for Navy. Landon Robinson and Griffin Willis are 4th and 5th on the team in tackles, which is a rarity for interior defensive linemen. But I think I still think it's a young and a beaten-up Navy offensive line, so I think Notre Dame has enough depth at defensive tackle to compensate. But when you're dealing with a triple option and everything that goes with it now, with Drew Cronick as the Navy offensive coordinator, it gets a little bit tricky.
Notre Dame has a lot of experience against the triple option, but interestingly enough, it's that front 4 that doesn't now because they're losing Rubio and Heinisch. Jared Dawson's a transfer from Louisville. I don't know how much he's seen the option. Elijah Hughes is a transfer from USC. He hasn't seen much of the option. Boubacar Traore and Jordan Botelho sat out last year's game with injuries. Bryce Young barely played last year, so we're going down the list. Jason Onye didn't play last year, but he did have a good game 2 years ago against the option. This is also a different option than most of these guys has seen. I think the back 7 is a little bit more prepared for the first series or 2 than the front 4 might be. But when you settle in, you get a little bit used to a different blocking scheme. I think Jared Dawson's well built for this, but it might take a series or 2 where you get used to trying to trust your eyes and trust your blocking angles, and then they can get a little better as the game goes on.
If you're Navy's quarterback, does that make a big difference for you?
I mean, it's something you'll prepare for, and on the defensive side, you try to simulate those things through the week or leading up to it. But Tim, as you kind of pointed out, once you get into the flow of the game, it's ball. And you've got to execute and do your job. And if they're able to do that, tackle well, I think is really going to be the big thing, and then limit explosives. They're going to be able to have success.
All right, special teams, defense, and now the offense's turn.
Morrow give it to Love, has a good hole, runs between it, here he goes, across the 20, over the 30, track meet, and you're not going to catch Jeremiah Love, across midfield, 30, 20, 10, to the house, 94 yards for the best back in college football.
Listen, if you want Jeremiah Love to pop a 94-yarder, he can do that. If you want Jadarian Price to pop off a 101-yard kick return, they can do that. What about 4th and 1 and 3rd and 2? Why can't we do those short yardage situations? Why are we having a problem with those this year?
Those have been a struggle. There's no doubt about it. And you went into the season with a pretty veteran offensive line. Now it's getting beaten up. I mentioned about Schrouth and Craig being out, and it's Joe Otting and Sullivan Absher in there. It's really hard to understand because it's not like Notre Dame doesn't have a quality ground game. It's not like they don't have good running backs. But they've struggled with that, just like the red zone. I mean, Notre Dame is, this is the first time, I looked this up this morning, Notre Dame has gone 4 games without scoring 40 points in a game. That's the first time in the regular season. Now, they went 4 games in the playoffs last year and didn't do it, but that's the first time in the regular season that Notre Dame hasn't scored 40 points over a 4-game span since 2019. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that, and I think they get to that today, but it's a test of will when it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and they haven't been able to do it consistently. And as good as the defense has been, the defense hasn't been able to stop the opposing team on 3rd and 4th and very short.
To get to 40, you're going to have to maintain possession. That means converting on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and that's the issue. If Navy can make Notre Dame punt twice, it's a massive win for the midshipmen. Navy only forces 2 punts a game. Notre Dame often does not punt against Navy. With their goal-to-go struggles, Notre Dame's, if you punt twice against Navy for some reason in short yardage, I don't expect them to. I expect them to go for it. But if you have to punt twice from your own end and you get stopped in the red zone, which I know we're going to get to, that's 3 possessions lost in what might be an 8 or 9 possession game. That can add up. Short yardage woes can't continue against Navy. That plays right into their hands.
I mean, you started with explosives. I think I'll use a baseball analogy. How do you not strike out? You don't miss your pitch early in the count. And if they don't get to those 3rd and shorts or 4th and shorts, if they're able to hit some explosives, control the line of scrimmage, you're not in those situations. But you talked about identity, and that's what those downs are. 3rd and 4th and short are their identity downs. And I think the same thing with the red zone. And, hopefully they're able to figure things out here towards the end of the season, because you've got to have an identity, and clearly you got to score touchdowns.
Well, when you come down to the end of the game, you're going to play teams that stack the box.
Yeah.
It's going to be mano-y-mano. Hey, can you get the ball across the line? We saw that Texas A&M game, and Miami, of course, was pushing Notre Dame around earlier this season, so we'll see. Let's talk about the rankings really quickly before we go to break. Coming in at number 10 in the college football playoff rankings, are they ranked where they should be, and could they be ranked higher?
I think they're a top 10 team. They sometimes look like a top 6 team, but I contend that if Notre Dame did not roll through the playoff last year, they would not be number 10 right now. Now, they rolled through the playoff last year. People are human in that room. They saw them beat Georgia handily. They saw them beat Penn State. They saw them come back against Ohio State. They saw them handle Indiana. If none of that happens, I don't know if this is a number 10 resume in the country right now, because they don't have a big win other than USC. Now, their losses look, the A&M loss looks great, other than, of course, how it happened for Notre Dame fans, but I think there's a lot of equity built up in this Notre Dame program, and they should take it. They should be happy they have that equity, because if they can roll through, they'll be in the playoff.
I don't think we would have been surprised if they were 11th, 12th, 13th this week, but when we saw them in the 10th spot, that's a great place to be. Now not only is it great to be 10th, you're in a position to maybe move up to 8th if you win the rest of your games and you get a little bit of help in front of you, which you will. Brigham Young, Texas Tech playing today, Oregon having to play USC coming up. So, when you consider where they were after losing the first 2 games, the thought of them being 10th with a chance to be in the top 8 to play here in this stadium in December, pretty advantageous for them.
I think, the cliche is they control their own destiny, and it's going to be winning out. There's a lot more football games to be played, and there's some things that, they aren't controlling, and there could be some other losses. So they go in and take care of business. Yeah, you could see them move up, and, it would be pretty cool to have a home game come playoff time.
All right, stick around. We're going to have these guys give their final predictions, X factors. When we come back, we'll wrap it up here on ABC 57 Kickoff. Stay with us.